Hi, I'm Marcus White and this is Everyone is God. So this is another video in my series on how to lead the world, and in this episode I want to look at paradigm shifts that I believe we need to make if we're to resolve some of the problems we have as a race on the planet. So the first point I have is that everything we believe creates the state of the world that we live in. It's our beliefs that lead our choices, and it's our choices that create the environment that we live in and everything that happens around us. It is not outside factors or somebody else that really creates our reality, our environment around us. It is us. It is the choices and the beliefs we have underneath those choices. Now, if it's the choices, the beliefs we have and the choices that we make that lead to the state of the world, then our beliefs must lead to all the issues that we have, because they create the world and all the problems we have in it. So, because we have all of these different issues on the planet, there must be problems with the basic beliefs that we have, the basic paradigms we have. And these problems have been running for centuries and millennia: war, crime, corruption, wealth divide, environmental issues, poverty. All of this stuff has been running right up to the present day for millennia. So it stands to reason that the fundamental beliefs we have flaws in them, and that they haven't really changed. We've had pretty much the same beliefs throughout all of history because we keep recreating the same problems. So it also means that our ideas of solutions, how to solve these problems, hasn't changed either, because the problems keep continuing. And it means that the solutions we have aren't actually solutions at all, because they don't solve the problem. And if a solution is genuinely to be a solution, then it's actually got to solve the problem, and that's just not happening. So the only remaining option we have is to change our fundamental beliefs, our paradigms that we hold on to. This is, in my view, the only way that we're going to change the decisions we make and the outcome we get, and start resolving the problems we have. So what I want to do is quickly try and get through a whole load of paradigms that I think we need to change. And what I hope to do is do individual videos on each one of those paradigms later on. So the first thing is our paradigm of love and sex. We place a lot of fear around sex and love and the way we express them. And we have a lot of ideas about certain things are bad to do. Dark sexual desire is bad and perverse. Promiscuity, multiple partners is bad. All these sort of things. And around romantic love, that you should only have one partner, or the Muslims believe in multiple wives but not multiple husbands. We have so many beliefs and judgments around love and sex. And I think we need to break down all those judgments and allow people, in a conscious way and a safe way, which is in discussion with other people in their life, to pursue their love and sexual desires in a freer, more open, conscious way. So I think that paradigm around love and sex needs to be changed, and we need to move to something that you could call unconditional love and unconditional sex, but consciously done. Another paradigm I think we need to look at is the paradigms we have around raising children. It's my belief that children are infinitely more sensitive to the love and nurture they get from both their parents, or the lack of it, than we ever believe. My view is that children need 24/7 love and nurture from both their parents throughout their entire formative years. If they don't get this, they have a deep sense of lack within them of love and nurture and safety, and that will translate into all the mental and emotional problems we have in adulthood. So I think we need to change our paradigm around raising children and make that really, in a sense, the most important job we do as a race, and prioritise it accordingly and sponsor parents to be able to do that. Another paradigm we have is good and bad. We believe that there's such a thing as good and bad, and certain experiences are good and certain are bad, and certain things to do are good and bad, and we separate this. My view is that you cannot have the good without the bad, and indeed there's always a purpose in the bad. For one thing, it shows us the problem and it's leading us down the route of solving it. I believe we need to change the paradigm of good and bad to the paradigm that everything has purpose. A similar thing with the idea of victim and villain. We believe we can become the victim of crimes and that the perpetrators of those crimes are villains. And I believe this is very disempowering, because as soon as we believe we're a victim, then we're saying we have no control over this and we can't resolve this. And that is the most disempowering thing of all, the most disempowering belief. I believe we are God and we are responsible for everything we create, and we create it through our inner belief systems, our subconscious belief systems. So I think we need to change that. Another paradigm we have is the paradigm of privacy. And what I notice is that so much of our dysfunction hides in our privacy. We believe privacy is a good thing and that we're all entitled to it. But the consequence of this is that dysfunction can hide in there. If we were more transparent about everything we do, then the dysfunction would be brought out into the open and it would be more likely to be resolved. And I believe a fully conscious society would take pride in being transparent and having the integrity where they can show individuals, all individuals, show openly everything they do and believe, and that this would be far more functional, and they would be proud of transparency rather than valuing privacy. Accountability is another paradigm we have, I believe, needs changing. We don't hold people fully accountable. They're not accountable with their financial affairs. They can have things hidden in private bank accounts. They're not accountable quite often on social media, where they can have aliases and false names and they're not traceable. All of this, I think, needs to be changed to full accountability. It's very much like this issue of privacy. Another paradigm we have is the paradigm of conflict of interest. We believe it's possible for two parties to have a fundamental conflict of interest, and what one party wants is bad for the other. I believe fundamentally, and I've been accused of being naive in this, but I believe that actually this is fundamentally false. It's impossible for one party to truly want something that is good for them and it to be bad for others. All conflicts of interest, in my view, arise from a false belief that something is good when actually it isn't. Putin believes it's good to invade Ukraine and that this is benefiting him in Russia. This idea is completely false, and it sets up a huge conflict of interest. And exactly the same thing happens with lesser conflicts of interest. Law is another paradigm we need to change. The way we practice law is very much based on conflict of interest. A lawyer represents party A and another lawyer represents party B because they have conflicting interests and they've got to fight it out through a legal process to come to an agreement. Again, this idea is false in my view, and actually if what I believe should happen is that we completely eliminate this idea of conflict of interest from all parts of society and in law, and we have one solicitor, lawyer, who represents both parties and proposes a fair solution right at the outset. This would save vast amounts of time, money and stress for all parties. It would promote rapid solution to problems and rapid achievement of contracts. And I believe this should be adopted as the new paradigm of law. Another area where we have, I think, incorrect paradigms is responsibility. We believe in responsibility as a principle, but we don't really follow this through. For example, in a more extreme case, a criminal who burns down a factory and ends up going to prison, that criminal is not required to pay the cost back of burning down the factory, of repairing it, and not required to pay the costs of their prison sentence. And there is simply no responsibility for their actions. So I believe this has to change. We have to have a paradigm where we actually follow through and hold everybody 100% responsible for their actions. Tax is another paradigm we have. I believe the paradigm of tax should be replaced with a paradigm of cost, and all the public services should be funded proportionately by the people who use those services. So, for example, National Health Service, people would pay effectively a health policy cost, which would then give them access to the National Health Service. And that money they pay would go into the health system and nothing else. It wouldn't get mixed up with other taxes and other public services. So we should establish a direct link of cost and the people paying their costs, and do that for every area of public services. In this way, the idea of tax is eliminated and it's replaced with the idea of direct cost. You pay the costs you incur. Another area I think we need to change our paradigm is media. The media has very low accountability and responsibility for what it puts out. So quite often the media will say sources said, and this has no accountability and basically means in many cases they can print things that are false. This is no good for anyone. And more than that, the media quite often attacks people, mocks people, attacks them, is rude about people, and it's almost seen like a sport or fair game that people who are in the public eye or other people are just a free target that you can take pot shots at. This has no integrity or accountability, and it just brings down the whole of society. And I feel all of this paradigm around media needs to be changed, and there needs to be full accountability and integrity, and these things should not be regarded as acceptable forms of entertainment or news reporting. So that's just some of the ideas I've got about paradigms that should change. Like I said, I want to look at them all in more detail. I've got many more ideas which I'd love to share. If you do have any comments or questions or anything, I'd love to hear from you. So other than that, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Have a lovely day. Love and light to you. Bye-bye.